I want to show you a couple of ways to access system information in Windows. So the first method, we're going to go through Control Panel, and we'll go into System, and there's a System tool. Okay, and this will pull up some basic information about your system. So you can see we're running Windows 10. You can see a little bit about the processor we're running. We have 4 gigs of RAM on this particular system. It's a 64-bit version. So some pretty basic information, but useful that you might need to know about your computer. There's another way to get to this same information. If you open File Manager or File Explorer, when you get to this PC, you can also right-click on this PC and click on Properties, and that's another way to get to that same basic information. So something you might want to look at if you're getting questions on, you want to upgrade your system, and you need to know, well, how much RAM do I have? Is it upgradable? So you can find some basic information here. Another tool that we have is called MS Info 32. Okay, and that leads to an app called System Information. And so I'll click on that, and we get a little bit more detailed information here. So now you can see we're running Windows 10 Enterprise. You can see what build we're at, so are we updated? And we're relatively updated as of today. System manufacturer, VMware, since we're running in a virtual machine, you might see some VMware stuff in here. We get a little bit more detail on our processor, how many cores and logical processors, what BIOS we're using, and what version. Important information you might want to know about your system. We still have information about the RAM, 4 gigs, and so on. Now we can get a lot more detailed here and look in the hardware resources, and so we could find out a little bit more detailed information about our RAM in here. For our components, we can look at different things. Our input, we could look at our keyboard and find out more information about our keyboard, what's its name, how many keys it has, how many function keys, different things like that. Our pointing device, or our mouse in this case, we can see information about it, things about drivers. There's a section on networking, so we can open that and look at our adapter part. Here's for our adapter. So it tells us what our adapter is, Intel, what type of adapter, what our connection is. Let's see, here's our IP address, IPv4 and version 6, net mask, gateway, all kinds of good information we have about our adapter. Okay, so tons of information here, not enough time to go over all of this. The important thing is remembering, I guess, some of those terms, because even if we flip back, if you remember what Windows looked like originally, a little bit different interface here and different style. When we clicked on this, we got a little bit different. So if you're following instructions for old versions of stuff, you might have something where it says search Windows and web, where the current version says, hey, type your search here. So there's always little changes in interfaces, but if you can remember some of the command names, like msinfo32, and run that, you pretty much get kind of the same interface. So you can see here, obviously we're running the original version of Windows 10, so it's still Windows 10 Enterprise, but our build level is different here, right? So if we go back to this one and go back to our system summary, you can see the build level. We're still at Windows 10, but the build is quite a bit different from the original. So similar machine here, a little bit less RAM. We got 2 gigs on this machine, so you can do kind of a compare and contrast between the systems. But if you can remember those commands, it's a little bit easier than trying to find, you know, when they change the interface, where did that particular command go. The other thing I always like to look at is command line. So I'm going to do CMD. That'll get us the command prompt to come up. And I'll just hit enter there. And so from the command prompt, we also have this other utility called system info. So if I type in system info here and hit enter, it's going to run through and check my system and give me some information very similar to what we saw in the graphical version of this. We've got the, you know, Windows 10 Enterprise. Here's our OS version, our build level. So a lot of the same information just at the command line, which can be useful in some cases. Also another trick at the command line, if we type in ms info 32, it will pop up the graphical environment and run it that way. So you can also, if you remember the commands, run them from the command line if you can't find any other place to run it. So just a couple of places to look and find out a little bit more detailed information about your Windows system. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you find the information you're looking for.